Stop! Stop! Regular viewers may remember that earlier this year I tested the new Audi A3 Saloon. Now I've been upgraded to the Audi S3 Sportback. As well as offering a more muscular appearance, it has a muscular engine to match. It's the Volkswagen Automotive Group's old faithful, the EA888, which has also been used on cars such as the Golf R and the new Cupra Formentor. In case you don't know what it is, it's a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine offering 310 horsepower along with 400 Newton meters of torque. If you prefer that in pound-feet, that is 295. As you would expect, this power is fed to all four wheels using a Gearbox quattro system via a 7-speed S Tronic transmission. 62 miles per hour is dealt with in just 4.8 seconds, and the top speed, you guessed it, is limited to 155 miles per hour. That's all good and well, but how does it drive? Well, for starters, the performance is pretty impressive and rather rapid. Thanks to the quattro all-wheel drive system and the 7-speed S Tronic gearbox, the 310 horses are applied to the tarmac with very little fuss at all. Now, that isn't to say that this car feels like an anticlimax, because believe me, oh, those brakes are good. It really isn't. And to be honest, you look at that 4.8 seconds time to 0 to 62, and you do think, maybe that is actually a little bit underestimated. As you would expect from any Audi, you've got a choice of driving modes. So you've got efficiency, comfort, auto, dynamic, or individual. So that's the Audi Presense, thinking I was about to run that cyclist down, which I wasn't. I wouldn't dream of that. I used to be a cyclist. Anyway, back to the driving modes. What I like about the individual mode is when you go under the engine note, you've got a choice of either subdued, balanced, or pronounced. I like that. Oh, would Sir like his engine note pronounced? Yes, Sir would. Woo! This thing is a weapon. It is so fast. Speaking of fast, the 7-speed S Tronic gearbox is slick, smooth and seamless. It works very well whether you leave it to its own devices or whether you take control of the paddles yourself. It won't go any further because I'm going too fast for second gear. There we go. Oof. Dirty car. Now, the S3 does make a decent enough noise, although it is a little bit, I would say, reserved. So if you want something a bit more ASBO, then I'd recommend having a look at the Ford Focus ST or the Hyundai i30M. But if you're looking at this car, there's a good chance you want something a bit more reserved, a bit more subtle, a bit more composed, calculated, and perhaps you like the finer things in life. As much as this car doesn't sound bad, for me, I would want a bit more drama. But to be fair, fast Audis aren't really known for their theatre, although this may not be fun per se, but it does have its own thrill to it. It's a very impressive powertrain. Interestingly, compared to the Audi S3 Saloon I drove earlier this year, the S3 Sportback, believe it or not, is actually more comfortable. And you may think that sounds a bit weird because this is a more potent model, it's got more performance, but the ride comfort is noticeably better. It's more compliant, it flows over the tarmac a little bit better, and I think this would easily be the better car to live with day to day. These nappa leather seats are very comfortable. However, I will say that when you're cornering hard, they don't offer as much support as I would personally like. I would like these seats to hug me a bit more. Plus the material is a little bit slippery. So when I'm cornering hard, I do feel like, I'll give you an example, because it's not exactly the hardest corner, but as you can probably see, I am moving about from side to side, and I don't like that. However, if you prefer your sport seats to be more geared towards comfort than support, then I think you'll love these. Don't get me wrong, these are nice seats, but I just want a bit more support. I also find my hips could do with a bit more support as well if I'm going to be really anal about things. But anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about the cornering. The cornering in this car is very good. As I said a few moments ago, I wouldn't call it fun, but it is impressive. It's calculated, efficient, composed, exactly what you would expect from a fast Audi. The steering is well weighted and responsive. The brakes are, they are fantastic. They've got a good amount of bite without feeling over assisted. So I'd say the brakes on this car are, I'd say Audi, you've got the balance just right. They're strong enough, but not too strong to the point where it feels like you're doing an emergency stop every time you want to scrub off speed for a corner. Speaking of which, the speed you can go through the corners is immense. The grip on offer is fantastic thanks to the quattro system, and of course this car has got Goodyear Eagle F1 tyres as well. Good choice of tyre. I've actually got those on my Leon Cupra. Yes, as much as I do like Michelin's, I have to concede the Goodyear Eagle F1s are very good as well. So Audi Sport, good choice of tyre. Well done. There's very little in the way of roll. And overall, this is a fantastic handling car. Okay, it's not the most playful or the most, how can I put it, the most boisterous, but you can certainly hustle this down a B road. Now, let's bring things back down to earth a little bit and speak about more of the more everyday kind of things that matter when you're living with a car. Comfort, refinement, for example. And I will of course cover practicality as well in the next segment. But in regard to comfort, as I've touched upon already, comfort is, in my opinion, surprisingly good. Now, let's not say I was expecting a harsh ride, but after driving the Audi A3 S-Line, I suppose I kind of was. But this car is surprisingly supple, relatively speaking, for the kind of car it is. This car, the base model S3, doesn't have the damper control, which is Audi's terminology for adaptive dampers. If you go for the S3 Vorsprung, you can have the damper control, which gives you adaptive dampers. Therefore, when you have it in comfort, you will have a ride that's more compliant, and when you whack it into dynamic, you'll get a ride that is tauter and more, well, dynamic. Yes, the ride has got a bit of a firm edge to it, but I can see no reason why you can't use this as a means of getting about from A to B every day. Refinement isn't too bad. Yes, there is road noise from these 18-inch alloys, but from memory, obviously I'm having to delve deep here, I would argue the A3 S-Line was louder in the cabin. I could be wrong, that could just be my imagination, but this definitely feels a bit more civilized in here. Until you put your foot down, of course, and you get that engine note. Woo! Yeah, it's really civilized in here. One of the appeals for a hot hatch is, of course, practicality. Therefore, you may be disappointed in the S3 Sportback. The reason for that is the boot offers just 325 litres, which isn't actually that much more compared to a Ford Fiesta. Now you can go for the Saloon variant, as that offers 370 litres, but be warned, that is a false economy. It is bigger, but this boot is actually more practical because this is of course a hatchback. Speaking of which, you can of course fold down the 60/40 rear seats to give you 1,145 litres. In regard to practical elements, you've got a hook either side where you can hang up a bag of shopping and a 12-volt socket. You've also got this netting, which is part of Audi's storage pack, which is sometimes optional on certain Audi models, but for the S3 it comes as standard. In case you're wondering, no, you don't get a spare wheel as standard, but you do of course get a tyre repair kit. One last thing, if you go for the Vorsprung model, you do get a power tailgate, whereas on this one you don't, so you have to use good old-fashioned elbow grease. The tailgate is actually a bit heavy, but yeah, keeps you fit, I suppose. Okay, so the boot space may be a little bit meh, but what about the rear? As always, the driver's seat has been set for me. I'm 6'2", so I'm of course a taller chap. Let me step in like so and take the weight off my feet. As you can hopefully see, because you do have dark roof lining, which does make the inside a bit dingy in the back, I've got a good amount of knee room and plenty of leg room, so I can really stretch out and relax. Also, because this is the Sportback and not the Saloon, I've also got a good amount of headroom as well. Bear in mind that the Saloon has got a sweeping roofline, which does sacrifice headroom. I think it would be too much of a struggle to fit 3 adults in the rear, particularly as you do have a thick transmission tunnel running down the middle, but for 2 adults it should be absolutely fine. However, if you're more concerned about carrying children, there are of course ISOFIX points. In regard to practicality, the door bins are of a good size. I can fit in a medium-sized bottle with no complaints. That is 1 litre. You've also got 2 cup holders in the centre armrest, which once more I can just about fit my bottle into. And you've got map pockets and a hook either side. Also in the rear, you've got ventilation and a 12-volt socket, so those in the back can charge their devices whilst on the move. So overall, I'd say the back of the S3 Sportback is well catered for, so well done Audi. As standard on the S3, you get these wonderful nappa leather seats, which in this specification are finished in steel grey. They are very comfortable, so with that in mind, I think I'd take a seat as opposed to hunching down like a dog about to do its business. Now, the front driver's seat as opposed to the rear driver's seat. So what I was meant to say was the driver's seat and the front passenger seat, they're both electronically adjustable. I've currently got my seat set to its lowest, but if you want an idea of how high you can go, I'll give you an idea. It will take a few moments, of course. Oh, I'm gonna get squashed. Oh, stop! Stop! There we go. As you can see, you can have a much more higher driving setup if you want to, but not for me. The driver's seat has got 2 memory functions, which is handy if you're going to be sharing the car with your spouse or someone else in your family. There we go, that's much more like it. In regard to practicality, I've got to mention, almost goes without saying, but I will mention it, the steering wheel adjusts for brake and reach like so. The door bins are of a good size. You can fit in a medium-sized bottle, like so, and there is a bit of space left over. You've also got 2 cup holders in the middle, although you can flip away the rings, and then you can use this as a general storage area. You've got a little slot where you can pop the key, a compartment to the right-hand side of the steering wheel, a wireless phone charging pad, which is an optional extra for this car, if I'm going to be honest, a bit of storage underneath the centre armrest, and last but not least, you do of course get the glove box, which offers a decent amount of space, and the inside is lined with fabric. Ooh, luxury. Ooh, fuzzy. I like it. Overall, the front of the S3 Sportback is a good place to be. Yeah, some may say the inside is a bit boring, a bit bland, but I think it's classy and composed. Yes, it isn't as bold as the Cupra Formentor, which I've also got this week, and I know the A3 has received some criticism for some of the interior materials, but could you sit here and say this car feels cheap? I know this is the S3, not the A3, but of course it comes from the same family. No, I don't think this feels like a cheap car. Yeah, okay, there's some scratchier plastics here and there, but they don't feel cheap, and the whole thing feels robust and well put together. So there's no complaints from me. Plus, I prefer the infotainment on this compared to the Formentor, It's easier to live with, and you've got proper buttons for the climate control. Oh, what a time to be alive. Ah, yes, that for me is a big bonus. Even though it's such a small thing, it's actually quite a big thing for me. So well done, Audi, well done. Let's touch upon fuel economy, as I'm sure some of you may be interested. So on a combined run, Audi states you should be getting around 34 mpg, and right now I'm doing about 27.2. In regard to CO2 emissions, this emits 183 grams per kilometre, meaning for the first year of VED, you'll be required to pay £895. I had to do that from memory then. In regard to price, the new S3 Sportback is available in two trim levels, S3 and S3 Vorsprung, which have respective starting prices of £36,805 and £44,555. If you'd rather have the Saloon version, then you'll need to add £565 onto the prices I just gave you. The standard S3 comes with standard features including S-specific styling and suspension, 18-inch alloys, LED lights, tinted rear windows, progressive steering, nappa leather seats, heated and electronically adjustable front seats, Audi Virtual Cockpit, 10.1-inch touchscreen with DAB radio, Bluetooth, navigation and smartphone connectivity, as well as rear parking sensors, autonomous emergency braking, lane keep assist, light and rain sensors, cruise control, hill hold assist and 6 airbags. The Vorsprung model adds features such as 19-inch alloys, black detailing, adaptive dampers, driver assistance systems, matrix LED headlights, panoramic sunroof, power tailgate, 4-way lumbar support, Bang & Olufsen sound system, keyless entry, Audi Virtual Cockpit Plus and wireless phone charging. The car seen in this video, as you may have guessed, is fitted with a few options, which include the Tango Red paintwork, driver assistance pack, comfort and sound pack, 4-way lumbar support, wireless phone charging, panoramic roof and matrix LED headlights. It's worth pointing out that the last two options I mentioned, the panoramic sunroof and the matrix LED headlights, aren't available as an option on the standard S3, not in the UK at least, so to get those in the UK you'd have to go for the Vorsprung. The Audi S3 Sportback is certainly an impressive bit of kit, and its breadth of ability is equally impressive. Here we have a car that is able to demolish a V-road in typical German efficiency, but has the comfort and refinement to be used every day. Okay, it isn't the most thrilling hot hatch, but if you want your hot hatch to strike the perfect balance between performance and refinement, this should definitely be on your shopping list. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you have enjoyed it. If so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. A massive thank you for Audi UK for loaning me this car for the week. And of course, thank you guys for watching, although I have of course said that, but may as well say it again. Anyway guys, if you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.